beautiful flamingo cake.
To get started, I have a 6 and 8-inch round cake pan which I've lined with parchment paper, and I'm going to fill with vanilla cake batter that I've dyed a nice bright flamingo pink. I baked these for about 25 minutes or until a toothpick or wooden skewer inserted in the center of the cake comes out clean. Once my cakes are completely cooled, I remove them from the cake pans, I level the bigger layer, and then I cut the other layer in half. I want to keep that hump shape on the smaller layer because we're going to carve this into a round shape anyways. And I drizzle these with the tres leches filling, which is just 3 milks. It's heavy cream, a little bit of sweetened condensed milk, and evaporated milk mixed together. And this is going to give it a nice tres leches flavor, and it's going to keep it really nice and moist as well. Then I fill the cakes with the vanilla buttercream that I've also dyed pink.
If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Also, don't forget to click down below and subscribe to my channel.
And I add my cake onto a cake board that I've added a little bit of buttercream on just so that the cake sticks. I let my cake sit in the freezer for a few minutes until it's nice and firm. And now I'm going to begin carving the cake into a nice rounded flamingo body shape. Once I'm happy with the shape of the cake, I'm going to cover the entire cake in the pink buttercream. Now that the cake is nice and smooth, I put it in the refrigerator to set for a few minutes. Then I'm going to grab a pink piece of fondant and I'm going to make the little tail on the back. I'm just going to attach this to where I want the back of the flamingo's body to be. And this is going to be the tail so that when we cover this in fondant, it blends in with the rest of the cake. Here I have the fondant which I've dyed using the Wilton color rose, and I'm going to roll this out. Then I roll this over the cake to cover the entire cake, and I use my hands and a fondant smoother to smooth the fondant around the cake. Then I use an X-Acto knife to trim around the excess fondant, and I once again use my fondant smoother to smooth everything out. Here I have a template that I made of what I want the flamingo's wings to look like, and what I have here is some fondant that I've mixed with gum paste. So it's half fondant, half gum paste, and I colored it to match the fondant that we covered the cake in. And what I'm going to do is place my little paper template on top and just cut around this using my X-Acto knife. Then I flip it the opposite way and I cut it again so that I have the 2 wings for either side of the cake. Using a leaf-shaped fondant cutter, I'm going to just press this onto the wings, and this is going to give it a little bit of texture. And I'm also going to use a thin fondant tool to just create feather-looking strands onto the wings. And I'm going to place the wings onto the cake using a little bit of melted white chocolate as glue. Once I'm happy with the placement of the wings, I'm going to put the cake in the refrigerator so that it sets nicely. Using the leaf cutter and my little fondant tool, I'm going to add texture onto the flamingo's tail as well. Now to make the flamingo's long neck, I'm going to be using some floral wires. Here I have 4 floral wires, and they're actually pretty thin. I couldn't find any thicker ones. So what I'm going to do is grab 2 of them and sort of just twist them together. Then I'm going to grab the other 2 and twist them together. And then I'm going to grab all 4 and twist them together into one long strand. Once I'm happy with this, I'm going to cover the entire thing in a small strip of pink fondant. So I begin shaping it until I'm happy with the shape. I leave the very bottom of the flamingo's neck wires exposed because this part is going to be inserted into the cake. Then I'm going to place it next to my cake and see where exactly I want it to be inserted into the cake and where I want the bend of the neck of the flamingo to be. Here I have some more of the gum paste and fondant mixture, and the reason why I mixed this with gum paste is because gum paste sets really nice and hard, and since this is a really big curvy shape, I want it to set nicely. I don't want it to flop around, so fondant alone would not work for this. You can either use gum paste alone or a mixture of fondant and gum paste. So what I'm going to do is cover the top half first, which is going to be the face of the flamingo. Then I cover the bottom half, and I'm going to use my hands and little fondant tool to blend where there are any seams. Now as you can see at the tip of the mouth, that's where the wire is exposed, and I left that like that purposely because that's where the flamingo's beak is going to be. So I'm adding a white strip first, that's going to be the top part of the beak. And then I add a black strip and I pinch it at the bottom so that it has more of a triangular beak shape. And using a really thin strip of fondant, I'm going to make the flamingo's eyes, and I'm going to make them closed, and I'm also going to give this flamingo some cute, fabulous eyelashes. And then I'm going to let this set for a couple minutes, and I'll continue on to finish the other side of the flamingo's face. I'm going to add the bottom side of the exposed wires into the cake so that it has something to hold on to. Then I'm going to lay the middle part of the flamingo's neck back against his back, and I'm going to use a bit of melted white chocolate to hold that in place. And once again, I use my leaf cutter and my fondant tool to create little feather-like texture onto the neck. Now, I thought the flamingo looked great, but I thought that it looked kind of plain, so I wanted to add a bit of luster to this. I'm adding a bit of gold luster just where I added the feather texture, and I'm going to spread this around onto the wings, the neck, and the tail of the flamingo. And to make this flamingo even more glamorous, I'm going to make it a nice little crown. Then I'm going to connect this using a little bit of white chocolate, and I'm going to color this using my gold luster dust. And I just use a little bit of melted white chocolate and I brush that onto the bottom of the crown, and I stick this onto the flamingo's head. And this beautiful, amazing flamingo cake is complete. I glammed it out by using a little bit of gold luster dust, and of course I gave it a nice crown on top, and I think it looks fabulous. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. If you guys enjoyed this tutorial, give it a big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned next week for another cake episode. Bye bye!